Namaste, everyone. This is our yen flow for this week. And it's going to have a lot of yen poses, but we're going to be adding in some doses of flow as well. So this week we entered into spring. Yay! We had the spring equinox a couple days ago. That's the equivalent of night and day. And this time of the year, it's meant to highlight, basically a chance to look at our lives to see where are we maybe potentially out of balance. And then how can we come back to strike some balance? It's also a great time to just, kind of review the rest period or the reflective period or the downtime that you may have had during the winter months. Since spring is about fertility and rebirthing and growth, it may be a time to kind of break out of your shell and to be able to get back outside or to maybe invite in some new interest. So, whatever that may be for you. I wanted to mention that this is also leading us into the eclipse season. And next week, we're going to have the lunar eclipse with the full moon that may be pulling at the heartstrings. I have heard, I have not done a lot of research, but I did hear that the lunar eclipse was about relationship dynamics. So I'm just happy I'm going to be away for that. um, the last thing I want to mention as part of our theme for today, or at least some contemplative food for thought, is the fact, Easter is going to be coming up, and I'm not going to be with you for Easter, but when you think about like the egg hunts that we do for our children or grandchildren or what we did as children, everybody was on the search for the golden egg, right? Because the golden egg usually had like the biggest prize. Maybe it had money in it instead of candy, or maybe it had the best candy in it, or maybe you got a separate prize if you were able to find the golden egg. But what I want you to think about, kind of like figuratively speaking, is the golden egg could also represent our greatest potential, or, something that we're trying to like expand with. And in order to do that, we have to stay inside of our shell. And it takes time to find our strength and find our courage and find our purpose and find our clarity in order to break the shell from the inside so that we can birth whatever that may be. And I just made a post right before I was able to come join you guys, and it was about receiving clarity last week. And I'll go ahead and share what my clarity was last week. I always get these downloads and moments when I'm driving. And I was driving in my car and I was alone. And this download came in that my next purpose is something that kind of scares me in a way, because I don't like religion. I think religion divides and separates. I think religion has been about control and manipulation, instead of the true purpose of bringing people to the divine or to source. And that's just my opinion. But I grew up in the South. I grew up a minister's daughter, a PK, who I was supposed to just be in line with everything, and it never aligned. I mean, I remember from 5, 6 years old coming home from church and sitting outside in the woods going, that doesn't make sense, that doesn't compute, and literally sitting there and kind of like blowing up my mind and not really having anyone to talk to about this. And when I would try, I would be shushed. And it's really interesting if you look back at the history. um, there was the Council of Nicaea, who Constantine, the Roman emperor, now remember, the Romans were the persecutors of Christians. And all of a sudden, Constantine was like, all right, I'll become Christian and I'll create this council. And, he put the Bible together. And then later on, a different king got his council and they manipulated everything because they wanted to control the people. So it's fascinating to me that also in history that's been buried is that Jesus during the lost years actually went to India. He studied with the sages. He studied with the rishis. He actually, there are records that he stayed at a Buddhist monastery. And so to me, when I started discovering this, I'm like, okay, now I'm getting the truth. Now I'm starting to break through the veil of illusion. And now I'm starting to get more of the pieces of the puzzle, so to speak. And I know there's some people like my boyfriend who could never question it and doesn't really care. But I am a seeker of truth, and this has been part of my path. And so that moment of clarity came in where it's like, I'm in the Bible Belt for a reason. I tried to move to Colorado. I was told my work is here. I've been waiting for that next kind of purposeful thing to kind of appear. And here it is. I feel like part of my purpose is to gather all this information, and I'm just at the cusp of really gathering it. Gather all this information about him being in India and about the true teachings and how they've been misconstrued. So be on the lookout because I'm going to have some classes coming out about Jesus was a yogi. And the picture that we think of him now, that famous, picture that we always see, I actually just discovered it was one of the emperor's sons who was a murderer, who was a killer. And it's really interesting that this picture of Jesus that kind of imprints at our mind was actually a real person and not a good person. Let's just say that. So, anyway, what is the cosmic egg within you? What is the golden egg? Like, I mean, it doesn't have to be anything big, and it could even be something a little controversial. It may be something from your past, from your childhood that you have forgotten, and now you're literally golden because you fulfilled it and you're just coasting along. And you're not really seeking or searching for that purpose. And that's a beautiful thing. It could be just simply being a mother or being the grandmother and helping to take care and nurture the children that are in your life that are also going to play a part in this beautiful place we call Earth. So it's a fun thing to think about. We're going to start off in child's pose. And I'm not really projecting using any props, but you can definitely have them available. All right, Ringo, come over here. Come on. Up, up. All right, so let's start off with that egg shape where we're coming into the traditional child's pose, resting your head on the floor in front of your knees, shoulders relaxing downward, and palms open at the feet. If for whatever reason your body's not complying to this position, even with props, you're welcome to flip to your back. And if you can, stay here. And as you're beginning to mindfully breathe, feel the front and the back body expand and balloon. And as you exhale, feel how you move right back into center. Be contemplative within. This pose is perfect for that. And I'm going to let you move into a little quietude. Now that we've had some centering time here, I want you to bring your hands beside your knees. And then you're just going to roll across your brow. So you can push into one hand and roll towards the opposite temple. And then you can push into the other hand to roll across to the other. Continue to roll slowly, side to side across your brow, activating, stimulating the third eye center. Now roll back to the middle of your forehead, slide your hands out, rock up to hands and knees. And then as you inhale, you're going to curve the back to cow. And then as you exhale, you're going to round the back to cat stretch. Now take a moment here and pause. Feel how you have equal distribution of weights in each arm, each hand, each shin, each foot. And we're going to be changing that up in a little bit. But now that you felt that and tuned in, come back to cow. Exhale, roll into your cat. And do another. And then we're going to do some more intricate work. So after your cat stretch back, come to a neutral spine, not necessarily tabletop. But what we're going to do is we're going to do the barrel rolls, but in an extremely intricate way today. So in other words, I want you to really put more pressure down through your left hand, left shin, and you're slurping in through your left abdominal wall, the left side of your chest to lift the left shoulder blade higher. And then inhale, regular cow. And then as you exhale, slurp in through the right side body, root through your right limbs, and heighten your right shoulder blade. And then inhale, cow. Equal distribution of weight between your hands and feet. And then exhale, landing more to the left side as you isolate the cat stretch there. Inhale to cow. Isolate cat stretch on the right side. And then from here, this is where we're going to bend the elbows, lift the head, drop the belly like a low cow, and then we pull up through the left side body. Now stay here, but shift your navel in towards your spine and shift your weight equally to both hands, both feet, cat stretch. And then isolate the right side, lean slightly to the right limbs, and then drop. Bend the elbows, create your cow, and then dip your head as you arc up to the left side. And then draw it back to the middle, regular cat. Isolate the right side, and then bend the elbows and drip down. So I thought if we worked a little bit more intricately that, and you can start to circle it out now, it would help you or any others to figure out how these barrel rolls are actually done. All right, now we're going to reverse it. So scoop down in your cow, roll up through your right shoulder, through the middle to cat, isolate the left, droop down into cow, back to the middle. So we're reversing that flow. And I know your arms are getting tired, mine are too, but we're about to stretch those out. So come back through the middle. You're going to slide onto the belly. Now, your left arm is actually going to line up in front of your right. And you're going to separate your feet, give a little rock and shimmy to your hips, fly the elbows up, slide, travel, walk the hands away, and then spill your chin back down to rest. Close your eyes. Control your deep diaphragmatic breaths. Breathing this way can help us to de-stress the mind and body. Can aid digestion. With your eyes closed, bring your attention and awareness all the way down into your feet. Relax the toes, arches, and ankles. Investigate on whether or not you're softening enough through both legs. Really check in with your buttocks. Soften your pelvic floor. Ensure there's no gripping, contracting, or holding in your low back, in your abdomen. And last, check in with your face. Relaxing your mouth, your jaw, your cheeks, your nose, your eyes, and the space in between. Few more breaths. Inhale, lift the head. Take your time, sliding the arms back into place. Hands under the shoulders, clip the feet together and roll up and back a moment to extended child's. Rock up hands and knees next and exhale to downward facing dog. When you uplift to downward facing dog, use all 10 knuckles. That way your hands flattening down. But I want you to bend your right knee deep and drop your left heel. Push that left heel firmly towards the floor. Continue to breathe. Sustain the stretch. And now swap sides. So straighten out your right leg, bend your left knee pretty deep, and continue to sink down through the right heel and continue to breathe. Sustaining the stretch. And now pedal the feet. Walking the dog. Couple more times to each side. And then from here, we want to walk the hands back towards the toes. And you'll naturally continue to hinge from the hips, which is what we want. Just softly bend your knees and humbly bow over and down. I would give a nod to your head somehow. I would even give a little rolling effect or wiggle to the shoulders and arms. I like to keep my mouth just ever so slightly agape. Slight opening between the lips. You can even take cleansing breaths if you want to breathe out through your mouth. If you want to make the upper body heavier, you can also hold your arms. Golden egg representing your greatest and highest self or your utmost potential. They actually say that the aura around the body is shaped like an egg. So if you can imagine that around yourself now, picture it being gold or with a gold lining. All right, let's descend the hands and we're gonna walk it out. And we're not really holding plank unless you want to plank it and chaturanga to the floor, or you can just drop your knees and casually roll, okay? The feet are gonna slide apart again. I didn't forget. The right arm's gonna be in front this time. Elbows are gonna lift. We're gonna slide or walk it through. So the opposite threading than before. And then let your chin rest. Now I would suggest closing the eyes, doing that same mental scan from the feet to the face. Relaxing each and every part. Except for the arms, but even the arms here are relaxed. They're just receiving the sensation. Meditate on your breath. Feel the breath, the flow of the breath, the amount of the breath. Even the result of the breath. few more breaths. Lift the head up. Slip the hands back underneath the shoulders. Draw the feet closer together. Inhale, you can roll up and push back to extended child. Locking up hands and knees and exhaling down dog. All right, we're going to go into downward scorpion. So with that in mind, remember we'll be balancing on one leg. And so the important here is to make sure the feet aren't too wide apart. And then once you have them in close proximity, lift your left leg, bend the top knee, swirl open through the hips. Gaze up underneath that left arm. Now, remember the left knee's lifting up towards the ceiling, but you have to be mindful to not overwork the inseam of the straight leg. All right, when you unroll that left hip, step and establish that foot in between the hands, roll down to your back heel, and helicopter up to warrior two. Now in your warrior two, make sure that front thigh rolls open, and then you're actually gonna roll both palms up as well. Inhale, straighten the front leg, the arms frame the face. And then as you exhale, bend the knee and gaze down the left fingertips. And then we're gonna continue with our breath. So the inhale is here, and the exhale returns us to warrior two. Inhale. And then exhale, re-enter warrior. Another, inhale, lift. Exhale, now lunge the knee, hold. Allow the arms to sink, and we need to offstep this back foot. So we're going to slowly step the right foot over and turn the foot in. So now we're facing the front of the mat again. The arms are going to reach out like a T, and then we're going to hook right arm under the left. And then lunge the front knee. So basically coming into warrior one with eagle arms. But we're not going to stay. We're going to lean forward, and we're going to loop that right leg, hook it over the standing leg, and then build your chest up, right? Instead of continuing to lean forward, build your chest up and build your arms up. Garudasana, eagle. There may be some emotional storms next week, dependent on your natal chart and all the other alignments in the cosmos, but with that lunar eclipse and full moon, and with it being about relationship dynamics, I want you to remember this affirmation: at the middle of life's storms, I choose to remain calm and serene. Now, when we relax the arms, now please don't do this if you're not capable, but you may surprise yourself. If you scoop down, you may be able to drop your hands to the floor, which allows you to bring, and I'm too close to this bookcase. Basically, it's like this. You come on down to your knees, you untuck the left toes, and then push back from your hands and find your way here in shoelace legs or Gomukhasana legs. Now you want both sides of your seat on the ground so your feet are actually off to the sides. If you want, you can stay here. We're going to be emphasizing the stretch on the outside of the hips. You may feel that more, however, if you start to dive down. And then if you can collapse your weight and round your back, that's acceptable in yin. But pay attention, it might be too much. So back off if you need to. And something that I like to do on occasion is so right now, the emphasis, I don't know if you can feel it, it's more on that right side. But if you take your fingertips and just kind of walk them up on that IT band, up and down, and then when you get close to the hip and the side of the buttocks, kind of move it up and down, you'll find it can be quite tender and tight there around that piriformis, that you can give yourself a little massage this way. And it's okay if you just want to flop forward and just let the stretch do it for you. Let's end this with a cleansing breath. Breathe in through your nose, out audibly through your mouth. Walk your hands in. And this is where we're going to stand the right knee up and plant the right foot down. But if the right side of your seat won't plant, or if that's too complicated, bring that foot to the inside of the knee. And I'm just going to do this one today myself. You're going to hook your left arm around the right knee and extend your spine and your side body. Prop your right hand behind your back and continue to turn around. Exhale, remove your back hand, loose right leg. We're going to take that behind us. And we're not folding, okay? So we're flexing the right ankle and karate chopping the foot. And that helps us to lift through the pelvic floor. We lift through the navel. We try to bring the arms up in freestyle if possible. It's okay if you need to use your hands. But here we were active, but now see if you can slowly begin to melt and descend through the hips. Now hands down, curl the back toes, re-step to down dog. From downward facing dog, we're going to take that flow to the second side. So reestablish your feet properly. That way we can inhale, lift the right leg, and exhale, start to bend the top knee, swirl the head up underneath the right arm, downward scorpion. Maintain control of your breath. Unroll the hip, step it through, roll the left heel down, and come up to warrior two. Opening out the thighs, turning your palms up, and let's flow. Inhale, straighten the front leg, arms rise. Exhale, relunge the knee, gaze over the right hand. Continue. Last one. Hold Virabhadrasana 2. Relax the arms. Offset your left foot. Crank that left hip forward. Lunge the front knee. Take your arms out like a T. Left arm under the right. So don't mind me. I'm going to back up since I don't have tons of space here. Lean forward and we'll hook the left leg over the right. And notice when you start sinking into your hips, how the heart wants to drop, but we want the heart to shine forward. So arrange your torso to create that. Release your hands. See if it's possible to bring your hands down, to catch yourself, to lower your knees, to untuck the right foot, and to safely sit back. Hello. Making sure your left seat is down. Choosing this upright position. If this is what's called for, maybe dropping forward if that's necessary. And if you feel really open today and want to flop, you can. Now I'm going to spin around because just like we did on that previous side, you can take your fingertips and just kind of apply some pressure as you walk it up the IT band, around the frame of the outer hip, maybe into that piriformis muscle. That really tight area is usually the piriformis, and that's a great place to use those pinky balls or tennis balls to roll around. If your masseuse won't target it, some massage therapists will go there and some shy away from it, but it's great when you find someone that can do that therapeutic work. Slowly maneuver our way out. And then see, do you want your foot on the outside or the inside of the knee today? Hooking that right arm around, lifting through the vertebrae, left hand stacks behind you, and then turn in that direction. Line from that position. So the right knee is going to stay down. The left leg is going to go behind the back. We karate chop that foot so it's active. That gives us the lift in the pelvic floor. And then we can lift the arms overhead, upward pigeon. And then if you want to melt down, you can. Bring the hands down, and instead of going back into the flow, we're going to bring the left foot around in front of us. Now keep your knees apart because we're going to take the hands under, close to the ankles, really. And make sure you got space behind you. You're going to roll back, roll forward, clap, clap, clap. Roll back, roll forward, and clap those feet. Roll back, roll forward, and clap the feet. This is called seal. I actually learned this in Pilates, but it works for yoga. After the next clapping with the feet, let the feet descend, and then you get to determine, do you want an active Baddha Konasana with the feet close to the body, the spine straight as you pour down? Or do you want the yin butterfly with the feet more in front and rounding? We've got one more active pose after this. It'll be Sasamgasana hair pose. Slowly start to come up. As you come up, because we're doing Sasamgasana, you're going to need to be on your knees. Remember when we were in child's pose and we were rolling on the brow? This is kind of similar. The hands will be beside the knees and you'll be rolling to the top of the head. So you can watch and then follow along if that's better. So the hands are down, the brow comes to meet your mat. And then as you inhale, your hips lift and you roll over the top of the head. As you exhale, you roll back to the forehead and drop the hips. So we're just going to lift and descend, rock and roll a few more rounds. Last one. Now, just so you know, you can always come back to this if you don't like what I'm going to show you next. The next one is a different variation where we come to standing Vajrasana. The fingers lace, the shoulders roll back, and then we bring the crown down. Again, you can go back to the previous one if you don't like this option. It does require a lot for the shoulders. There's barely little weight on the head here. And then inhale, come up. All right. Now, I failed to tell you guys joining me live. I really would have liked to have had 2 blankets. And if you don't have 2 blankets, it's okay. Maybe you have a pillow. If you have a pillow, you're going to use it under your head. If you by chance have 2 blankets, one of those blankets is going to be folded up nice and neat underneath your head and your neck, and then I'll show you what to do. So let me get into this position first. You've done this with me before, at least this portion. Legs on top of the bolster with the blanket tucked and wrapped around your legs. Now, the difference with this is, or the second blanket is this. When you pour the head down, do something what's called a cradle roll. And what it is, you basically take the corner of the blanket near one shoulder, and then you roll up that whole side. So it's kind of rolling in towards your ear. And then do the same thing on the other. And then you could just create those rolls close to the head to kind of hug it in. See if you like that. And we are preparing for Shavasana, the most potent part of the practice. This is where we can sit with the theme, sit with our intention, simply be with our breath, or just do some practice for some deep inner listening, deep inner observations, deep inner feelings. So take advantage of this time presented here to the best of your ability. Start to slowly pedal the feet. Rotate the wrists. Unroll the blanket at your head and draw the knees in towards your belly and chest. Few breaths here. Rolling away to one side. Coming up to take a seat. And as you're sitting here, picture that aura like an egg shape lined with gold surrounding your body. Join your hands together. And we all walk away from this practice being devoted to living our yoga and not just practicing here on the mat. May we be the light and the peace that this world so desperately needs.